All right, we are back here getting ready for the NBA draft on Wednesday. Joining me today to preview the draft a little bit, one of the hosts of the Prep to Pro podcast, Ben Pfeifer, is on the line. Ben, Mike Phillips here in New York. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
I'm glad to have you on. I got to say, it feels a little weird having the draft in November as opposed to June, but I'm glad it's finally here.
Yeah, it's been the longest draft cycle ever, so I'm just excited for it to be done at this point, but also excited for what's going to happen.
Yeah, I am too, and I've been keeping track of a lot of the draft stuff, and it feels like the sentiment around this class that it's much weaker than some of the more recent years we've seen. What do you think from what you've seen about this class?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is it just lacks high-end star power. Even last draft class, which was, classified by many as weaker, had, a bona fide future MVP level talent, Zion Williamson. This draft has no one of that ilk. So that's the main reason. I believe LaMelo Ball is the best prospect in this draft, but even he has, significant questions. Just not to that level, really. And then, I think like there's kind of even less like depth in role players in like the second round than a lot of classes. I think like there's going to be a chance to get good players and good role player values just because of where teams value certain guys, especially in that like 10 to 25 range. But in the second round, there just aren't that many enticing gambles, like even compared to like most years.
Yeah, for sure. You just mentioned it. You like LaMelo Ball the best in this class. Why do you think he's your favorite guy on the board?
Just, I mean, 6'7" and very young and a special passer. I mean, has one of the most creative, ambitious, genius passers. Hits every single pass in the book with incredible accuracy, timing, full court outlets, pick and roll passes. All of it's there. An elite ball handler as well. Just so creative, so shifty with his handles. And then I think there's some potential as a scorer. I love his runner game. He has elite floater touch. The jumper, yes, has questions, but I think it can definitely be good enough. It doesn't have to be great for his role. I think it could be good enough. And then defensively, I mean, right now he's definitely not great. No doubt about that. But I think there's definitely potential for just someone purely as smart as LaMelo, young as him, with like decent athletic tools. I think as he matures and improves technically, I think he could be a decent defender. So that's just kind of the elevator pitch for LaMelo. It's someone like who I think can like legitimately kind of like run a good offense. And that's I think he's the only player in this class who I can really say that about.
Yeah, I think a lot of this class, what I've seen, feel like here's something great they can do. Here are some issues with that. I feel like that's sort of the case in this class. I feel like Anthony Edwards is another example of that too, in terms of like he can score, but he may not be a great fit on some teams. His defense is questionable. I feel like that's sort of the message I've gotten on him.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing with a lot of this class. I mean, Edwards especially. Yeah, Edwards for sure. I mean, just about the wiring with him. Like, can you get him to commit to playing good defense? Like you said, I mean, he's got tools, but I don't think he's ever going to be a major plus defender just because I think he lacks that, high-end feel for the team defense side. But can you get him to lock in? And on offense, he has all of the scoring tools and talent to be a high-level scorer. But can you get him to, commit to going to the rim more and getting more easy shots and drawing more fouls? I mean, that's really the big thing with Edwards as well. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to the top of the draft right now. The Minnesota Timberwolves sitting there with the first pick. We've heard rumors they want to get out of there. It doesn't seem like they're going to be able to. If they are sitting at number one, where should they go? Where do you think they'll go?
I think they probably will go LaMelo, and that's, I think, considering realistic options where they should go. I mean, I don't love the fit with D'Angelo Russell, because I think Russell, isn't that great off ball. And giving LaMelo room to like really grow and make mistakes and fail kind of isn't what the Wolves are looking to do if they're looking to make the playoffs and contend. And also the defensive core of Cat and D'Angelo with LaMelo right now is pretty ugly. But I think just the best prospect in the class in terms of, yes, the Wolves want to win now, but you also with the first pick in the draft have to look towards the upside and look towards your future. And LaMelo, I think, I don't know, they seem to be committed to D'Angelo. But I mean, assuming I personally I would be very happy with a core two of Cat and LaMelo. So I think LaMelo is where they will go and where they should go. I was going to say, assuming they can't trade the pick, which I'm sure they're trying to.
Yeah, I'm sure they're trying to. Another team that's trying to trade their pick right now is the Warriors at number 2. Again, that's not many teams seem to want to go up. A lot of teams want to go down. The Warriors at 2. The thing I've heard most of them is James Wiseman as the second pick. Do you think that would be a wise choice for the Warriors there?
No, I don't really think that would be a smart choice. I'm not a huge fan of James Wiseman. I think of him more as like a mid-teen prospect. I just don't really think he has the ceiling that a lot of people seem to have. I mean, I think he's a good prospect, and I think just being as large and physically imposing in the open floor as he is, there's certainly room for him to be a good NBA center. Is going to do things effectively, like protect the rim just because of his size and rim run as a roller and transition on duck-ins. Those are all things that raise a team's floor, but I think he's not skilled enough or intelligent enough or really has the highest level athletic tools to, I think, be a really special big man. That's kind of what you need for me to take a big man early. So yeah, I wouldn't really like the Warriors taking Wiseman at 2. If they're gonna take a big man, I'd much rather have Onyeka Okongwu, and even then, I'd have my issues with that.
Yeah, so where do you think they should go at 2 then, if you were making the pick?
I'd probably just take Anthony Edwards, assuming they stay put. I mean, there are prospects who I think could contribute more immediately, like Denny Avdia, Onyeka Okongwu, like I said, Devin Vassell. But I think with the number 2 pick, you still have to consider like your future and long upside. I think it would be a waste to just take someone for the short term, because you can get someone comparable in free agency, without the upside of the number 2 pick. So I think Edwards, while yes, he gives you that long term scoring upside that you want with the number 2 pick. If he figures things out, it could be a really potent scorer. And I think the Warriors are kind of as good a place to extract early value as possible. Have he's an excellent cutter already. Just commit him to cutting, using his athleticism to get easy buckets at the rim. In the Warriors' motion-heavy offense, get him, shooting spot ups. Hopefully, playing in a smaller role can help him lock in on defense more. So that's where I go with the Warriors. So I definitely would understand taking someone like Vassell or Onyeka that just maybe has a lower ceiling, but is more of a contributor, because the Warriors are a team that is wanting to contend right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. I do feel like one guy who's sort of risen up the boards of late, again, somebody who does not get a lot of love, because a lot of the guys that just produce in college don't get a ton of credit, especially when they're seniors. Obi Toppin seems like he's topping at number 5 on the board. Seems like the Cavaliers seem like a good fit there. What do you think about Obi Toppin as a pro?
I'm not a huge fan of Obi Toppin. I mean, there's no doubt that he's going to be a really good offensive big man. I mean, the passing is elite, the finishing is elite. I think he's going to be a good enough shooter. I think as a complimentary big man, he could definitely excel. The big issue is the defense, which I just really am not a fan of. I think he's going to struggle to play the 5, because his mobility means that I think he's going to struggle to defend all of the pick and roll coverages. Definitely not able to switch or play on the perimeter, and I think he's a decent rim protector because he can get up really high, but he's a load leaper, meaning he takes a lot of time to jump and reach the height of his jumps. But I really worry about that defense, because the offense is very good, no doubt, but I think it's not good enough. Like, he's fundamentally to be a complimentary big, where not a big who you can really run a great offense through. And I mean, yes, he's only a sophomore, but he's 22 or already senior age, which is a really important factor when you're considering upside. So I mean, I think Obi's a good prospect. Probably going to be a very good offensive player in the NBA, but just not someone I take in the top 5.
Yeah, let's get to my team. I'm a big Knicks guy. The Knicks are sitting there number 8 in this draft, and they fell again. That's not a big deal in the lottery. But what do you think the Knicks should do at number 8?
I think their best option, well, I say 2 ways. One, I think if Killian Hayes is there, you absolutely take him. French point guard, played at Ulm in Germany this year. Just an elite passer, elite defender on and off the ball at 6'5", and has improved a ton as a scorer and athletically, both on his drives and as a pull-up shooter. I think if you can't get Killian, which I think you maybe can, but I think if you can't get because the Knicks aren't going to get their initiator or guard really in this class. I think you just kind of stack up on more complementary pieces and hope you're batting. They're almost certainly going to do bad again next year, and hopefully you can land at the top of the 2021 draft, which is stacked with potential initiators like Cade Cunningham and Brandon Boston. So I would go with a complimentary wing type, like Devin Vassell would be a dream if you felt Florida State wing, just a special team defender. Patrick Williams, another Florida State forward who's just a really impressive rim protector with some complementary offensive skills, and just one of the youngest players in the draft. So I think that's kind of the direction I would go with, kind of just like a complementary role player type that I think can really help you down the road, but might not help you so much right now.
Yeah, I've been keeping track of some reports coming out of them lately from the Athletic on the Knicks side. There are two names that are linked to them you did not mention recently: Kira Lewis from Alabama and Tyrese Maxey out of Kentucky, given the Kentucky ties there. Do you think there'd be a reach if they took one of those two at that pick, or would be better for them to trade down and try and get one of those guys about like 10 or 11 back in the lottery?
I think both would be fine. Honestly, Maxey I think is a top 5 prospect. I've said that the whole year. I think he's wildly underrated. Just an elite, high level, 3-level scorer. Really, really great guard finisher with, I think the shot is going to be really, really good despite, what people may say or what his 3-point percentage says. Awesome defender as well. I prefer him to Kyra. Kyra, I think, is good as well. The speed is unbelievable. I think best as like an off-ball kind of guard, attacking closeouts, shooting spot up, secondary pick and rolls, which is kind of what the Knicks, I think, eventually are going to need. I wouldn't hate either of those. I would think both of those are pretty good picks.
All right, that sounds good. Let's go down to the Nets at number 19. And obviously, not looking for somebody to come in and be a big star right away. They could use somebody to be a good depth piece. Where should the Nets be looking here?
Yeah, I think you just kind of look like more like real role players that can contribute in a playoff setting. And the guy who I keep coming back to for that is Xavier Tillman, Michigan State big man. Who, and when it comes to like bigs, like things you want out of bigs in the playoffs that aren't stars, like you want quick decision makers on both ends of the ball. You want strong players. You want guys who can, really smart defenders. And Tillman is all of that. Yes, their concerns as a 6'8" big man who's not a great shooter is definitely concerning. But a brilliant passer, elite big man handler, great finisher, elite team defender with who makes incredible rotations, instantaneous decisions. I think he would kind of be an awesome fit for Brooklyn. It's just another rotational big who I think can really make an impact in the playoffs. Maybe more than any of the bigs they have on the roster, like soon in his career. So that would probably be like the direction I'd go for the Nets, looking for like some kind of player who can like contribute, be useful role players, next to their star power.
All right, talking to Ben Pfeifer here at the Prep to Pro podcast. Let's go back to the Knicks again, number 27. You figure, obviously, they take a wing or a big at the top of the point. They'll go the other direction at 27. What are some guys down there you think could make sense for them?
I think, I would love to see them land someone like Leandro Bolmaro at potential stash. I think that would be a steal for him. I view him higher as that. Just 6'7" with really elite ball handling and passing. I think the second best handle pass combo in this draft outside of Melo Ball. And then, the big selling point is he's an elite guard defender. The footwork, his ability to get through screens and near point of attack, and, also his ability to make rotations and plays as a team defender. That's all so high level. And he's doing it as like an 18, 19-year-old in the EuroLeague, which is all the more impressive. Yes, he plays like a lot of the competition lower level, and the scoring is a big problem for him. I think he really has to develop some sort of on-ball scoring if he's going to hit the star potential. I think he has. But again, I view him as an upside bet. So I think like that'll be a smart get for the Knicks, is a draft and stash type. Or just, that's kind of the direction I'd go for New York.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting direction. And last thing I want to get to is obviously you always had some fun trying to figure out the sleepers in the draft. For me, I always look for like those tweener kind of guys who are productive in college, may not have the right fit for the pros, end up usually being pretty good rotation bench guys. Those are my kind of sleepers. Who are your sleeper targets you would look at in the late first, early second round of the draft?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones is Killian Tilly, Gonzaga big man, who has fallen down boards almost entirely because of his kind of scary injury history. He's always been injured going back to before his Gonzaga career, which is, that's a legitimate concern. He might really never be able to stay on an NBA floor consistently. But if he can, you're getting a tailor-made modern NBA big with elite big man shooting, passing, handling, all the perimeter skill you want in a complementary big man. And then defensively, super smart, moves well despite, not moving as well as he once did with the injuries. He's just such a talented big man. And even if you can get him playing, even if you can't get like a fully healthy Tilly, but someone who can, play 60 games a season, that's crazy valuable, I think. So he's the direction I direct most people in terms of like sleepers in this draft.
Yeah, my personal opinion, I want to get your take on this as well, is like, I was a little bit of bias as a big Michigan State guy. I think Cassius Winston's going to slip in this draft because he's undersized, but I think he does enough things where he's a good floor leader. He can run offenses. He can shoot decently well. I think he'll be a good backup point guard in the NBA for a long time.
Yeah, I like Cassius Winston. He's an elite shooter, one of the best shooters in college basketball over his career, no doubt, and a high-level pick-and-roll playmaker. I worry that with like the size and athleticism deficiency is like without a ball screen, like I'm not sure that he can really score or get to the rim or carve out space on offense for himself. And then defensively, I just think he's going to be pretty bad, which are my main issues with Winston. That kind of like make him like more of like a early second. But I honestly like if it seemed like the Lakers or someone like that or the Sixers really needed shooting, and scoring, and playmaking out of the pick and roll, took him in the late first, I would totally be okay with that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a fun draft on Wednesday. Ben, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you, how can people follow you on social media and keep up with your podcast?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Ben_Pfeifer_. I co-host the Prep the Pro Pod and be a draft podcast with my friend friend and host co-host Max Carlin. We have weekly draft stuff. Every single multiple episodes a week now leading up to the draft, and then going to have lots of episodes prepping for college basketball and the 21 draft. And one more thing, we're going to be having a live draft show on Twitch. So if you want to come hang out, ask your questions about whatever team you're a fan of when they're drafting, and hear our reaction and analysis, and stop by. That'll be recorded on my Twitter, and our Twitter, the pod Twitter is at prep2propod. So that's where you can find the pod.
All right, that all sounds good, man. Ben, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, and there you have it. That was Ben Pfeifer previewing the NBA draft. A lot of good insights from Ben. Again, be sure to check out their podcast, the Prep to Pro podcast. Check out that Twitch stream if you want to get their insights on the draft night. Ask your questions of them. Up next, we're going to go to our weekly Mandalorian coverage. We're going to recap episode number 3 with Nick D'Alessio right after this.